What is up? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Happy hump day. Good morning. Great day if you're a Atlanta fan. Yesterday was a phenomenal day. I got some amazing, refreshing, knew it was coming news, but you always like when you get it and you hear it, you're just like, woo. So anyways, sorry, yesterday I took a damn personal day. But again, I want to thank all of you guys for being the amazing supporters that you are. You will find out the news soon, promise. I'm just suing the whole damn county. Let's fucking go. You want to violate my motherfucking rights? I will fucking show you. Yeah. Again, welcome. Come on in. Oh, Kim Young. You're the first live of the day for me here. Okay. We'll take it. Wait, are we rolling out? Yeah, we rolling on some hoes. I love it. Columbus ain't seen nothing yet. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Karen Reed, what is going on in the Karen Reed world? Well, we had hella docs. I've been waiting to just blast this. I'm live today all day. I got Karen Reed. I got Brian Kober. I want to talk about the girl that's missing from the University of Pittsburgh. I want to talk about that case a little bit. It gives me now Natalie Holloway vibes. But in the Karen Reed case, a couple things that I just will say quickly is, yes, Mark Betterow will not be joining. I'll tell you how I feel about that. I'm actually kind of shocked that they even tried it, to be honest. You had to think that there's going to be pushback on that. And because Mark Betterow is with Turtle Boy. And I was actually then surprised when they pressed back on the whole Betterow with, hey, give reconsideration to this. Why aren't you allowing Mark Betterow on? But it's Bev. You know what I'm saying? What time is BK coming on? 11 a.m. So you just got to wait like an hour and a half. So Karen Reed, though, this is her. This is Karen Reed coming through and saying, hey, we wanted to supplement that motion to dismiss. And we have these exhibits that we want. So exhibit 1, 2, and 3 here. Exhibit 1 was a corrected version of the inverted interior Sally report. Number 2 was the photograph of the condition of the right rear taillight of Mrs. Reed's SUV in the Canton Sally report. Now, thanks to Murky here, last night I had the amazing opportunity, or was it this morning? I can't remember. My time just goes together. There was this dude that bought on the internet. Well, he's a real life person, but he bought it off the internet. I'm assuming he bought a Lexus taillight, and then he took a hammer to it. Okay. And I want you guys to see this. I don't know if you guys have seen this. If you haven't, I want you guys to see it. So let me see if I'll just go through my email. Hey, Murky, what was the guy's name in the chat? What was his name? I just want to pull it up, and I have my other email up. If you're in chat, Mark. I just sent my other one. I was very interested with how it broke. Okay, that's what I was interested in, was how it broke. I found it, Mark. It's Be in Trouble. Okay. Be in Trouble. Here's your trouble. Oh, wait. Be in Trouble. What else is it? Oh, 31. Oops. Okay. If you guys haven't seen this, here it is. I want you to see it. Thanks, Sam Poop. let him name. All right. Here's this dude. You mind a little bit. So this is a taillight example, 2021 Lexus LX 570. Looks like he's up in some like attic.
I don't think I'm going to be able to smash it out.
Can you guys hear
that? That's with the hammer.
Okay, now look at that. Now I have a question.
Look how thick this thing is.
No, this isn't, but it's not in the car. You know what I mean? It's just, it's like a standalone. And you know how he's like taking a hammer down at it? So my question is there anybody out there that can take their Lexus? It will pay for you. I want to see when it's actually physically in, like in the vehicle for someone to do it. Well, you would have to think that Karen Reed's already done this. We said to do this trial 1. Like she's had to have done this. This is the easiest, cheapest way to do it as well, just to take a sample. But you want to know what I think is crazy about this video? Is you guys, 47 pieces. Yeah, it'll be stronger in the vehicle. Exactly. 47 pieces. Where do you guys see 47 motherfucking pieces? Look at how big those pieces are. Look at these pieces.
These taillights are extreme.
And then he goes to town and he busts out what he wanted to, when he puts these. There's only like.
This one was already
how
busted.
Real those are.
That's why it was easy to shatter with the hammer. This is a genuine Lexus LX 570 from a 2021.
So let's see. So he just rips that out. He's able to rip that. Look at that huge big chunk that just came out.
That's how you get the big piece.
Now, I personally believe, think about this. If you did this in the Sally port,
color it lights up.
Okay, I need you guys.
All the red is gone.
I don't believe that this was done in the Sally port. Now, that's awesome to look at. Oh, let me mute him. Look at that. Those dimples are everything in the way this is made. The fuse, though, the fuse is everything. You guys, if that fuse would have just gotten a little bit jarred, okay, the fuse is everything. Look at that, though. Look at this motherfucker. He's like, I got to get this fuse. Got to get in there. Isn't that sweet? Okay, so think about this. If you tried to bust this up, okay, that is very interesting considering the Commonwealth was trying to point out the white light, meaning the taillight was smashed. Exactly. I just think that if you try to do this in the Sally port, you would have never been able to get all those pieces, okay? This is why I believe that they did it. That's why it got transported so many days later, okay? Is this got transported or didn't get to the, lab for them to put it all together. I think they went out and bought one because you would not be able to have all those pieces. Like those slop tarts in there. That's why I think they went out and bought one. But seeing this, I was just amazed by the number of pieces. There's not 47 pieces. 47 pieces to shatter like that. Okay? It wouldn't have shattered like that. there's no way it would have shattered into 47 pieces. It didn't even shatter into 47 pieces when he's busting it. Look at how big that piece is right there. Now, all of those to the right, he should have counted them out. I want him to count those. Fuck, I'll count them. Rain Man style, right here. To me, it makes sense that the whole fucking taillight then was taken out and it's missing from Karen Reed's vehicle. I think that that's fucking bullshit. Okay, so you guys can go check out the video. Go back at it. So there you go. The photograph of reconstruction of taillight with pieces of plastic recovered from 34 Fairview Road. Even after the full reconstruction of the taillight, it appears cracked and missing a piece consistent with Sergeant Barros and his testimony regarding the observations of the right rear taillight of Lexus. Exhibit 4 was a photograph of the 47 pieces of plastic taillight lens material recovered from 34 Fairview Road. Screenshots established at the Commonwealth's Exhibit 2, which purports to show that the interior separate back wall camera was also inverted, and which was played at the direction of Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan in court yesterday, has a different color. That's interesting. Okay. Produced to the defense on April. So, and it's from the same camera. Interesting. Basically, they're saying that this discrepancy suggests manipulation and further underscores the prejudice misread by the Commonwealth's destruction of the original files and metadata associated with the download of the surveillance video from Canton. Next up, this was 552 that was filed. Hank Brennan. Now comes the Commonwealth in the above captioned case and moves this court, and they want an extension to file motion in limine, which we're going to get to the motion in limines. Motion in limine. Motion in limine. I love motion in limines. Oh, hide that shit. So it's just he wants more time. Okay. Now again, this was back on March 7th. Next up, affidavit of Hanky. This is Hanky. He's going to apologize to the court, and he's going to correct the record. This is exactly what Unetti wanted. He wanted him to correct the record. So here we go. My name is Hank Brennan, yada, yada, yada. But the reason that he's saying that he messed up is right here. It's because he blames it basically on Court TV, and Court TV has it in their title that it seems like they would have talked to a Unetti. But my mistake was unintentional and regrettable. I mistakenly stated that Attorney Unetti's statement was an extrajudicial statement, and it was not. Court TV did it. I blame the segment included in the story. Is Lana an attorney? Yep. Pro se all the way, baby. Woohoo! I'm going to pass that bar. Let's see. So he apologizes to the court. That's Hank Brennan. I knew that Yannetti, I called that. I knew that Yannetti didn't say shit. Yannetti has not made not one appearance. So, now this is the gag order. This is filing 5555555. Interesting number, all about numbers. So this is the gag order, and there's a couple things that were talked about here, but there have been more than 500 filings, in case you guys didn't know in this case, many of which are subject to protective orders. I don't know. We get all the filings, but I guess when they're saying maybe attachments. So before this court are two motions: the Commonwealth's motion to impose sanctions pursuant to Mass Rule Crim P48, and an oral motion made by the Commonwealth to the court on March 4th, renewing its prior written motion seeking to prohibit extrajudicial statements of counsel that would have a substantial likelihood to prejudicing the jury, the potential jury. And so the Commonwealth's motion for sanctions is in response to the defendant's motion to reconsider reciprocal discovery order, wherein defense counsel quoted information subject to protective orders issued by this court on November 13th and January 31st. Attorney Yannetti has acknowledged that this motion, which was not protected from public view, should not have included protected information. However, he represents that the inclusion of protected information was a mistake and not a willful act. As a sanction for this conduct, the Commonwealth requests that the court issue an order that the defense, quote unquote, file all motions under seal and impounded until such time that both the Commonwealth and the court can ensure, like we have to babysit, to ensure that the filings comply with all previous orders set by this court. The sanction sought by the Commonwealth is not appropriate. There you go. So nope, they're not going to get sanctioned. Although procedural remedies such as the initial impoundment of documents sought here are available under other rules of the court. So then she's instructing Hanky Poo where to go to get all that. But the court therefore declines to impose any sanction under Rule 48 at this time. However, subsequent and or repeated violations of court orders may well be considered either willful conduct or careless indifference that warrant sanctions. Next up is the Commonwealth's motion to prohibit extrajudicial statements to counsel, or statements of counsel. So we all know that Bev has put out this gag order. And so the Commonwealth seeks to have this gag order. And if I'm going to read this part right here. During the Voss interview, the defendant, with Alan Jackson seated at her side, told the reporter about witness testimony from the defendant's sealed grand jury proceedings, specifically while discussing Voss's recent visit to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. The defendant stated that the bartender who works there had testified before the grand jury. After further conversation, the defendant then told Voss the substance of the witness's testimony before the grand jury. The requirement that grand jury proceedings remain secret is deeply rooted in the common law of the Commonwealth in order to protect the process from extra influences. It's protect witness from intimidation. Notice how she put that in there. There you go. Protect witnesses from intimidation. And subordination, and encourage the free and full disclosure of information concerning commissions of a crime. So people that were talking about what Gretchen Voss's notes and all this stuff like came about, this is what came about. It also submitted, so the Commonwealth asserted that the defense lawyers have a history of making extrajudicial statements that may prejudice the proceedings It also submitted audio clips from these extrajudicial statements that may have prejudiced the proceedings. And then in an interview conducted by Boston Magazine reporter Gretchen Voss of the defendant and Attorney Jackson, they did it at the hotel. This was back July 13th of 2023. My question is how, this should just show you how bad Lally is, right? But that would have been during the trial, right? I'm sorry, a year before the trial. My bad. This would have been a year before the trial, if you think about it. So Gretchen Voss, remember, she was in court and she had an attorney and he was fighting. He's like, she doesn't have to turn over this. She doesn't have to turn over this. And remember, Bev was like, you're going to turn this over. This is where this came from. And in this audio clip that Voss kept and cited to a recent interview aired on February 17th, 2025. So it was stuff that they did here, but they didn't release it then until here, which my question is just kind of shocked. Like, why did you guys release this? I've been saying this all along. I can't believe that they're talking. I can't believe that they're talking. You know, love Alan Jackson to death. But I'm just saying, like, let me just go in there and destroy you. And that the defendant and Attorney Jackson gave to Fox 25 News. And so they're saying that although this interview was conducted on July 13th, 2023, the Commonwealth only recently obtained the audio and shared it with the court. At the hearing on the motion, Prosecutor Brennan also stated that Attorney Yannetti appeared on court TV falsely representing the subject of the federal investigation. In fact, Court TV played a clip of the statements Attorney Yannetti made on a Zoom hearing in court. Thus, contrary to the Commonwealth's representation, the statements were not extrajudicial and thus are not considered for this motion. Thanks, Bev. Thanks. So, based on these interviews and defense counsel's consistent, publicly reported interactions with reporters and bloggers, bloggers. That's a way to dig. I'm just a blogger. The court agrees with the Commonwealth that an order limiting extrajudicial statements of counsel is both appropriate and necessary to ensure a fair and impartial trial, and finds that no reasonable, less restrictive alternative to the order is available. So, but yeah, grand jury information of the testimony of the bartender from the Waterfall Bar. To break that down. Additionally, besides with the grand jury, although Attorney Jackson did not himself disclose information about the grand jury proceedings to the reporter, he had two opportunities to intervene to prevent his client from disclosing such information. Like, basically, Alan Jackson sat there and could have said, hey, no, don't say anything. Instead, he sat idle while his client disclosed to a reporter the testimony given in grand jury proceedings. This is what's interesting, though, is Karen Reed is free to still talk. Obviously, she has that right, and Hank wants her to. So, additionally, during the interview, both Voss and Fox 25 News, Attorney Jackson disparaged witnesses in the matter. Both Voss and Fox 25 News, Attorney Jackson, they were just ripping on this witness, I guess, in their terms. In the Voss interview, he specifically referred to two witnesses liars. You fucking liars. And they're just liars. I love it. Sorry, but I think it's funny. Statements commenting on the character, credibility, or reputation of a witness are more likely than not to have a material prejudicial effect on the proceedings. In the subsequent Fox 25 interview, Attorney Jackson claimed that, one, although individuals involved in the case know what really happened, they are not talking. And 2, witnesses in the Albert home the night of January 28, 2022 had obtained lawyers for self-preservation, which implies that they are not being truthful in their statements to law enforcement about what occurred. Karen was in Melanie Little's chat. God, when was that? I'm interested in that. When did that happen? In the decision on the Commonwealth's first motion to prohibit extrajudicial statements, the court said the defense counsel's statements to the media had, at times, arguably crossed the line of permissible under these rules. So, Gretchen Voss, fuck you, big ruiner. You know. So basically, Daddy says, no, Karen was not in her chat. A Karen was. Daddy, you need to put on some clothes. Yeah, it was someone named Karen Reed. Yeah. Daddy, take it all off. Auntie Deb would like go, woo-wee. No, Karen was not in her chat. Karen was. Man, did you see Morris's interview broke every law in the book? Yeah, nothing happens over there, right, Karen? Exactly. $199.98. So this is what can and can't happen, guys. It is what it is. I blame Gretchen Voss. Blame. I don't think that interview needed to be aired. And if it wouldn't have been aired, okay, then this wouldn't have happened. So, I don't know. This is the motion for protective order. This came out, this was 557. And this is a protective order restricting the public dissemination of all communications to be provided to the defendant on March 10th, detailed in the Commonwealth's Notice of Discovery. So just a protective order on that discovery that was sent on over to Karen Reed. Basically, I'll speak on this too, is this order is necessary to effectuate the well-established privacy and safety interests of the witnesses. If I'm not mistaken, they disclosed their witness list, and we don't want that getting out because for witness intimidation. Defendant's motion in limine to present demonstrative exhibit based on Hanley's testimony. Here we go, motion in limine, ripping through them. So, 558. Defense says, respectfully moves this honorable court to present the attached demonstrative exhibit or chalk to the jury. This chalk is necessary to clarify critical evidence and will aid the jury in understanding the testimony presented. And they want this demonstrative exhibit. And remember how Karen Reed said, we weren't going at the Commonwealth's lab experts, like we were more like agreeing with them. So, what's up, Boston? And so they're going to have, they want this big blow up, this chalk. So it's going to be that big, big poster board. So, Miss Reed is accused of the following crimes, obviously. On January 29th, we know what that's going to say, so I'm going to go to right here. And this is where it begins. Where's my other pen? Thank you. At the first trial, Christina Hanley, a forensic scientist at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, testified for the Commonwealth about pieces of glass. Thank you. What have I been saying? These pieces of glass recovered from the crime scene and from the bumper. Remember, it's like, how does that make it all the way? The testimony lasted more than an hour and spanned 37 pages of the trial transcripts. Throughout her extensive testimony, Ms. Hanley discussed 16 distinct pieces of glass recovered from 34 Fairview Road and the bumper of Miss Reed. These 16 pieces of glass originated from 4 separate sources. Some pieces of glass came from the same source, meaning that they were originally a part of the same object. This is what I'm getting into. Remember at the beginning of this video now, I said, hey guys, I think there's a chance that this could have just been bought, broken up, and that's why all these pieces fit so perfectly to rebuild this. So I believe that they need this huge, big demonstrative to be able to, so the jury can see what truly is going on here. Ms. Hanley's testimony is very intricate and difficult to follow without some sort of visual aid. During trial, Ms. Hanley herself frequently needed to refer to her notes and request that counsel repeat questions to keep the various pieces of evidence she was discussing clear. To remedy this problem, the defense proposes the use of a demonstrative aid consisting of one chart spanning one page containing representations of all recovered pieces. And this would be for the glass and graphics depicting which pieces came from where. The proposed chalk tracks directly with Ms. Hanley's testimony and report. I think this should be allowed. The chalk starts by identifying 4 basic categories based on where the pieces were recovered from and who they were brought in by. Each group of pieces is called an item. These items are 1, item 32, 3-2, the base of the cup recovered from the scene. So Alan Jackson wants this for a reason. Okay, you're doing this for a reason. And so it's breaking this all down because clearly Alan Jackson's going to show something about this, right? He ain't doing this to help the Commonwealth. All right. They're doing this for what? To help Karen Reed. So this is being done for a reason. For each individual piece of glass, I'm not going to go here and sit and read all these. For each individual piece of glass, the chart includes a graphic next to the corresponding label based on which other pieces of glass that piece matched. The graphics in the columns next to each label correspond directly with Ms. Hanley's testimony, particularly the testimony on pages 75 and 76 and 90 to 92 of the June 5th, 2024 trial transcripts. Each sublabel has a graphic next to it indicating which other pieces of glass it matches. Through these graphics, the chalk summarizes Ms. Hanley's conclusions into a simple chart, which Ms. Hanley confirmed was an accurate representation of her testimony. The argument: to assist the jury in visualizing Ms. Hanley's granular and essential testimony. This comes from even Karen Reed saying this. The defense proposes the attached demonstrative exhibit or chalk to aid the jury, which is attached here to as Exhibit A. A demonstrative exhibit is something pressed to the jury to help them. So here we go. And this is case law. The proposed chalk is highly relevant. Going back to the case, Ms. Hanley's testimony is clearly relevant. Whether any of the glass on the bumper matches the cocktail glass at the scene. This is what Alan Jackson tried to talk about trial 1. And I got it. Okay. And I think by talking to the juror, this is what would have come about. Something like this would have came about from talking to jurors. So Ms. Hanley's testimony is clearly relevant. Whether any of the glass on the bumper matches the cocktail glass at the scene. Whether. It's really important. Or is from some different unidentified source, which it is, and goes directly to whether the evidence in this case supports that Miss Reed struck John O'Keefe or the cocktail glass is in question. So basically, they have to match. Otherwise, you have two different sources. And that's exactly what's going to come out of it, is that there are two different sources because she says it. She says that they don't match. The relationships between the other pieces of glass are critical to understand the scene. Therefore, the chalk, which summarizes Ms. Hanley's testimony about this glass, is also highly relevant, especially given that the chalk provides much needed clarity to an otherwise complicated issue. Remember what I said about this cocktail glass? About the cocktail glass? Who knew about the cocktail glass? Trooper Proctor didn't know about that. The only people that knew about this fucking glass would have been the people that were with John and with Karen. Okay? And guess what? This is the best part about it. Ready for this? Ding, ding, ding. Nobody would have known that John took a glass out of the waterfall bar. Okay? Because John was the last one to leave. The only person that knew that John took a glass out of there would have been Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe. That's it. You understand? Jen and Matt. That's it. Nobody else would have known that unless they saw the motherfucker at the house. Jen and Matt. Without a chalk, the jury would need to be able to either accurately record. Remember, this is the juror talking about we should have taken better notes. Or memorize the source of each piece of glass and each piece's relationship to all the other pieces in order to make sense of Miss Hanley's testimony. The complexity of this testimony is underscored by Miss Hanley's frequent references to her notes and requests for counsel to repeat questions, particularly questions about the relationships between these pieces of glass. Of course, referencing notes and requesting the repetition of questions is permissible and even preferred to ensure that testimony is accurate. However, if a lab expert has trouble keeping track of the labels of exhibits of this evidence that she analyzed herself, surely the jury would have even more trouble making sense of this critical evidence, making the chalk not only relevant, but essential. The chalk would not prejudice the Commonwealth. Any prejudice that may be argued to stem from the chalk is far outweighed by its probative value. This chalk does not prejudice the Commonwealth in any way. For the Commonwealth to object to this should tell you everything, in which clearly they object in some form, because usually you're able to talk to each other when somebody's saying that they're not in agreement, then it comes to motion of lemonies. Like normally you can stipulate to things. Okay, so here we know that the Commonwealth is going to argue this. And everybody's question should be is why? Why would you be arguing this? Oh, because we can't have the jurors clearly see that there's a huge fucking problem here. Okay, that's why. But to think that you as the Commonwealth are going to argue that the jury should not see this huge portion of the case clearly, is the most fucked up shit, should tell you that why would the Commonwealth ever object to this? And that's, and right there, period, I rest my case. So I want to hear this argument by Hanky Panky. I want to hear how Hanky Panky is going to get up there and say, this clear, beautiful separation, this just cannot happen. The jury needs to figure it out for themselves. I mean, is that going to be the argument? The jury needs to figure it out for themselves. Bob King says, why do you think Karen's team was chuckling when Spanky showed the videos of Karen's light? They know about this. They have the light and power source. May see it in trial too. Yeah, that's something duh. If it was my life on the line, I would have went out there and bought myself Alexis taillight. Fuck shit, tailgate, let's party. But I mean, absurd to argue this. Even if the court finds that there is some prejudicial tendency to the proposed chalk, it is far outweighed by the probative value. How could this prejudice anybody? Dude, they're so accurately right. No, unless you're sitting there like someone like me, that's like what we did during trial 1, and to be taking such copious, and I had like a whole like little office area to do all of that. These jurors are sitting next to each other, on top of each other, with a little notebook to take notes on her shit. The Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts has been liberal, of course they have been, in allowing demonstrative and chalks, even where there is potential for extreme prejudice. And so again, citing a court case. And I want to keep it moving, so. The proposed chalk directly mirrors Ms. Hanley's testimony, and I bet you she probably would enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, why doesn't she just make one herself? Oh, because some people just don't give a fuck. Someone's life's on the line, man. Come on. Gifted 10 to the transparency membership. Woohoo! Heather says, hey, Hanky proved that all that shit's manipulated. Who turned green? Make yourself known. All right. So will the demonstrative make it? We'll find out when they bring their asses back into the courtroom for the motion lemony oral arguments. Next up, defendant's motion in lemony to exclude irrelevant, inadmissible, and prejudicial prior bad character and propensity evidence. And this is going to go to Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I take you. Is this one? Yeah. Here we go. Exactly. Should Aruba be in or out? What do you guys think? Is Aruba in or out? As grounds for the motion, the defense states the proffered evidence is not relevant to any material issue in this case. The factual background, again, we know what the case is about. Right here. The defense suspects that the Commonwealth will again seek to admit testimony regarding a completely irrelevant verbal argument between Miss Reed and a woman named Marietta Sullivan, which occurred in Aruba on December 31st, 2021, for the sole purpose of trying to assassinate Miss Reed's character in the eyes of the jury. At Miss Reed's first trial, every single witness unequivocally testified that there was no history of violence whatsoever in Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe's relationship, and that the two of them were in good spirits on the night of January 28, 2022. Despite this, the Commonwealth repeatedly elicited inadmissible testimony regarding a verbal incident that occurred in Aruba 1 month prior between Mrs. Reed and a third party, which had no logical relationship to the crime alleged. Commonwealth has no reliable evidence to suggest that the Aruba incident had anything whatsoever to do with John O'Keefe's death a full month later on January 29, 2022, or that this remote and isolated incident was even a point of contention in Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe's relationship after that trip. At the first trial, the Commonwealth called Laura, the Sullivan sluts, to testify about a highly inflammatory incident in which Miss Reed apparently got angry at another woman, not the decedent, because she purportedly believed that Mr. O'Keefe had kissed that woman. The Commonwealth intentionally admitted this prior bad acts and character evidence for no reason other than to sully Miss Reed's character in the hopes that the jury would indicate or indict her based on that fact that she was, in Rhett Sullivan's words, an asshole. At trial, Laura Sullivan admitted that she was not present during this verbal exchange between Marietta Sullivan and Miss Reed. So her testimony about the December 31st, 2022 incident in Aruba is almost entirely comprised of inadmissible hearsay. Despite the court's limiting instructions about bad character and propensity evidence, the Commonwealth was permitted to elicit prejudicial testimony from Laura Sullivan that Mr. O'Keefe purported called Miss Reed crazy. Yeah, there we go. Now we're getting to it. I think this is going to be out. She called her crazy. And that he had insinuated he was unhappy in their relationship. Marietta Sullivan's trial testimony was also extremely prejudicial to Miss Reed. Her retelling of the verbal dispute with Miss Reed was not probative of any material fact or element in this case. Karen is so horrible, she paid for our dinner. So what do you guys think? In or out? I think it's out. I think after she's seen the testimony that has come and that these girls are just going to try to get in their little digs, it's out. The Aruba incident constitutes inadmissible prior bad acts and character evidence, and any potential relevance is outweighed by the risk of unfair prejudice to the defendant. Rob says out, dumb and irrelevant. So stupid. Motion limiting concerning the introduction of exclusion of purportedly relevant elements are properly made and considered before and during trial, in advance of the evidence being offered. Just reminding her what this is all about. The purpose of a motion limiting is to prevent irrelevant, inadmissible, or prejudicial matters from becoming admitted and in evidence. And in granting such a motion, a judge has discretion similar to that which she has when deciding whether to admit or exclude evidence. It is a fundamental rule that the prosecution may not introduce evidence that a defendant previously has misbehaved. And it goes on about that. Similarly, although evidence of a hostile relationship between a defendant and its spouse may be admitted as relevant to a defendant's motive to kill the victim, such as evidence should not be admitted if it relates to events which occurred at a time too remote, though, from the killing. And that's what I see here. I see that. I see, first of all, it's fucking, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. They didn't even know Karen. Karen didn't even know them. Okay, there was 40 motherfucking people on that trip. So talking about a case above here. Evidence including extreme physical violence and threats with a firearm was admitted to show nature of the relationship and motive. This case law is not comparable to this incident, during which Miss Reed briefly became angry with another woman, not, again, the decedent, because she believed that Mr. O'Keefe had kissed that woman. There was zero physical violence here, nor threats of violence, no police involvement necessary and absolutely no history of violence in Mr. and Mrs. or Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe's relationship. I want to see if they give any other examples that I want to show. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the bimbo's testimony and how stupid it was. Here, testimony by Marietta Sullivan that Miss Reed became angry with Marietta, not John O'Keefe, on December 31st, 2021, because she believed that Marietta had kissed her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, is simply not probative as to whether Miss Reed had an intent to murder John O'Keefe on January 29th. Oh, good job, Liza. Good job. This event was remote in time and was clearly not an issue between O'Keefe and Miss Reed on the night in question, because he also is summoning her the fuck there. Come to Canton. Talk about the text messages. As evidenced by video surveillance footage from the Waterfall Bar Grill on the night in question, and the testimony of 8 witnesses, all of whom agreed that the couple appeared happy and in good spirits. There is no logical relationship between the Aruba incident and the crime charge. The Commonwealth's attempt to characterize this misunderstanding as some sort of turning point in Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe's relationship is off base and unsupported by the evidence. Boom. Boom. I mean, damn. You would think that before trial 2, they couldn't come up with something else. All the phone stuff that they would have had. Like, they couldn't dig up anything. This is what they got. They got the bimbos. The sole purpose of the Commonwealth's attempts to admit this evidence is to sully Miss Reed's character by allowing Marietta Sullivan to testify that Miss Reed sucks. Miss Reed sucks, you fucking bitch, Miss Reed. God, I love it. That's exactly what she said. She just sucks. She sucks. She sucks. Sucks that D that Marietta Sullivan wanted. I mean, this is ridiculous. If we are to believe the Commonwealth's best evidence, i.e. that Miss Reed said, go fuck yourself to Marietta, I love it. This is great. You guys, this is like a soap opera. If we are to believe the Commonwealth's best evidence, i.e. that Miss Reed, go fuck yourself, Marietta temporarily believed that she observed Marietta kissing the boyfriend on New Year's Eve in Aruba, that evidence is simply not probative of motive to murder Mr. O'Keefe more than a month later when the parties were, by all accounts, in good spirits. I mean, probably one of the best sentences I think has ever been written in a motion, right there. The sole purpose is for her to say she sucks. And then she twisted and said, we can't possibly think that this is the best evidence that the Commonwealth needs. Fucking turn it like a knife in them. I love it. Good job, Liza. Good. This is fucking tits. This point. In order for there to be a logical relationship between the prior bad acts evidence and the crime charge as required by Commonwealth versus Penmo, the jury would need to believe that Miss Reed reacted with a verbal go fuck yourself when she believed she had observed adulterous behavior on December 31st, 2021, but then subsequently flew into a murderous rage a month later when this event was remote in time and not the subject of any arguments on the night in question. Exactly. You illogical fucks. I love it. 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 Go fuck yourself. Dude, let's get a shirt that says go fuck yourself. Can we get some merch? Go fuck yourself. And put the hey bimbos, go fuck yourself. Make me some damn merch. Go fuck yourself. I love it. I used to have a sweatshirt that said get fucked. Some bitch stole it after she decided to sleep at my house, I think. But those strippers, I tell you what, get fucked. Just go fuck yourself. I love it. Miss Reed's character with a verbal "go fuck yourself" when she believed she had observed adulterous behavior on December 31st, but then subsequently flew into a murderous rage a month later when this event was remote in time and not the subject of any arguments on the night in question. That type of reasoning defies logic. Exactly. Miss Reed's short-lived anger was not even directed at Mr. O'Keefe, and her apologetic conduct after the incident demonstrates that she knew the quote-unquote kiss could have been a misunderstanding. The only reason for the admission of this evidence is to sully Miss Reed's character and prejudice the jury against her. Go fuck yourself. This is just poop. This, but again. Stick your tongue out, Adam. Good job. Miss Reed asserts here that this evidence has no probative value regarding the crimes for which she has been indicted. However, even if the court finds that this evidence is relevant, any marginal relevancy of Miss Reed's temporary belief that O'Keefe kissed another woman 1 month prior might have, in terms of evidencing a hostile relationship or intent to murder, is far outweighed by the prejudicial inflammatory effect it will have on the jury. Take that. Sit down. Take a seat. The Commonwealth must be prohibited from calling witnesses to testify to inadmissible hearsay. It is. Thank you. Finally, the word I wanted to see. How is this not all hearsay? For the purpose of attempting to show a hostile relationship. Moreover, Massachusetts courts have long held that the admission of hearsay statements for the purpose of showing a hostile relationship between the defendant and the victim is not permissible, because it would, quote unquote, entirely eviscerate the rule's important purpose of securing the correctness and completeness of testimony through cross-examination. Bam, bitch, sit down. The Commonwealth's argument in prior proceedings that this testimony is admissible in order to show the defendant's state of mind is misguided. So politely said, or just is completely fucked, how Lana would say it. There you go. What's up with all this miscarriage justice recently? It's you know what? It hasn't been recently. I am of the boat that this has always been happening. We're just at a different time in our lives where we have all this technology now and all these platforms where we can expose the government officials for what they've been doing. That's why the Innocence Project exists. Back then it was happening. We just didn't have the means to, and mass media isn't going to, mainstream media isn't going to. Now they're like, oh, we can cover true crime because it, for money. They cover it for money. We're covering it for justice, okay, and exposing shit. They cover it for dollar bills, y'all. Dollar bills, y'all. This is how I feel every Black person felt back in the day. You know what I mean? Why do you think Black people were taking deals? Because you're trying to pin this on me and you've done it, and how am I going to overcome this? I'm going to take the plea deal and do my 10 years. Okay? I'm not doing life. And no one's there fighting for them. It makes me sick. Massachusetts is so liberal, right? Fuck out of here. It's wild. Again, the event in Aruba took place a month before John O'Keefe died. And there is no evidence to suggest that Miss Reed was still upset about it on the night of January 28th. I would talk about how John O'Keefe summoned Karen Reed to be his fucking, Uber driver, basically. O'Keefe didn't have his vehicle. And if you really want to talk about a timeline, but I get it, you don't want to go attacking the victim here. But her here, testimony by Laura Sullivan regarding the irrelevant and inherently prejudicial Aruba incident must be excluded because this witness has nothing to testify about other than inadmissible hearsay and prejudicial character evidence. So here we're saying this bitch 100%, she ain't getting no time. She got nothing. Nothing. Hearsay. Oh yeah, she can appeal if she was found guilty. So Laura Sullivan, you're goner. And see, that's where I think Bev might say, okay, we won't have Laura Sullivan, but we'll have Marietta. Because Bev likes to play like that. Like, here, I'll give them that they can't have Laura Sullivan, but you can have Marietta. You know, that's a typical Bev move. Indeed, during the 2024 trial proceedings, the Commonwealth chose to put Laura Sullivan on the stand to testify about an incident that she did not witness in Aruba on December 31st, 2021, involving Miss Reed, Mr. O'Keefe, and her sister, Marietta Sullivan. Laura Sullivan was also permitted to testify about her completely irrelevant negative impressions of Karen during the planning of the Aruba trip. That Karen told her she needed her own bathroom and that she didn't want to share a room with John's kids. The Commonwealth then elicited additional inadmissible and prejudicial hearsay testimony from Laura, who told the jury that Mr. O'Keefe told her that Karen is crazy during a later conversation on the night of December 31st, 2021. And then on January 2nd, 2022, John insinuated that he was unhappy in their relationship. This is wild. Like when it's written out on paper, you know? Because it's exactly what happened in trial one. And the Commonwealth knew exactly what they were doing because the Commonwealth clearly was prepared for their client, for their witness, and the questions came from the Commonwealth and asked those questions to then elicit those responses. So Lally get fucked. Everybody's just getting fucked on Wednesday, hump day. Woo! All right, moving on. So that's what that's about. The bimbos by. God, we've already been at it for an hour. I'm trying to salvage my voice over here. Well, the defense says, really quick in part here, bye-bye, you guys are not going to be intimidating the jury, okay? So witnesses before and after testimony, okay? Is that right? Yes. I think everyone's been doing old school stuff, and now people are going to start getting exposed. People are starting to get really scared now because they have to figure out new ways of covering stuff up. Thanks, Liana. Thank you. $20 there. Appreciate it. Was that Jersey bread? Yeah, because Lally was sucking down 5 cigs during his 5-minute break. But so Exhibit A here is Karen Reed respectfully moves this honorable court for an order impounding portions of defendant's motion limited to exclude certain witnesses before and after the testimony. This is where, thanks to Alan Jackson, I had all these exhibits and they were all, well, they're coming up. Look at this. Everything's just redacted. Exhibit A is just completely gone. Okay. And this is namely the portion of the motion referencing text messages that are subject to a protective order issue in connection with this case. And Exhibit A contained a copy of those text messages. Good cause exists for the impoundment of this information because it is subject to protective order. And here's the rest of it, which is Colin, the Alberts, McCabe's, them going and sitting and being behind and sitting where the O'Keefes were sitting. They don't want that. Okay. We don't want these witnesses coming in and after they testify to sit over there and stare down the jury. Okay. So here it is, as this court will recall. Right here. As this court likely recalls, after they testified, members of the Albert and McCabe families proceeded to sit in the gallery with O'Keefe's family facing the jury sporadically throughout the remainder of the trial, including closing arguments. Following trial, a juror reported to Vanity Fair magazine that he or she felt it was utterly inappropriate that the Albert and McCabe families were able to stare down the jury from their position in the courtroom. Boom. Take that. One juror reported to Vanity Fair magazine that he or she felt intimidated by the presence of the Albert and McCabe families, calling their presence in the courtroom's small gallery facing the jury completely and utterly inappropriate. What do you think about that? Boom. Completely and utterly inappropriate. Noting that the Albert and McCabe families were substantial focal points of the trial, the juror noted how unbelievable it was that the families, quote unquote, were allowed in to stare the jury down. So there you go. So not only are we asking for the witnesses to be sequestered beforehand, like you can't come in there before you testify, but now we want you to not be in there ever. Okay. This was extraordinarily prejudicial to Miss Reed, and this is all the redacted part. Alleged third-party culprit Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Jennifer McCabe all sat in the gallery during closing arguments directly facing the jury, which, according to at least one juror, was intimidating. That's awesome. As the jurors heard through testimony, the Albert and McCabe families have deep connections and familial ties to multiple state police forces and local governments. In addition, Mr. O'Keefe, a Boston Police Department officer himself, was a part of this tight-knit law enforcement community. By sitting with the family of John O'Keefe and continuing to face the jury for parts of the remainder of the trial, at least one juror felt intimidated by what he or she preserved as the Alberts, quote-unquote, staring the jury down. What do you guys think? What do you think Bev's going to do? Again, here, the judge has broad discretion to order the sequestration of witnesses before or after their testimony at trial. And Karen Reed's asking for it. Make it pop. A defendant has a constitutional right to a fair trial to be decided by an impartial jury, free from intimidation and undue influence. I think more or less Bev blew off her dick when she made the gag order, and so therefore I think it's in. I think it's in because of this whole intimidation. Right there, it's in. An undue influence. For her to go any other way now because she put the gag order in. So I think it's in because of the gag order. If she doesn't put the gag order in, then it's less probable. So for me, classic Bev, I'll allow it. So, I think this is going to make it. I think Karen would have it defies logic after you put the gag order in. All right. Defendant's motion limine for view. Now, I was shocked when I saw this because I'm of the position that this view needs to happen of the lawn. This has to happen after testimony. Okay? It has to be at the end, like the Murdoch murder. When they went out to Moselle, whatever the hell it's called. When they went out to on a little field trip. So for me, this view of the lawn is so important because you guys, it's so freaking small, but you don't know what you're looking at in the beginning. Okay. You need the testimony of all these witnesses talking about that they could not see John O'Keefe's body on the lawn. This has to happen at least after those people are testifying to that. Okay, you need a sense of the case to then go out there. But doing and going and visiting this lawn in the beginning or prior to key testimony is fucking pointless. So Karen Reed now respectfully moves this court to order that the jury be taken on a view of the alleged crime scene. Love how they're saying alleged crime scene. They should actually be taken to a view inside the house too. Ms. Reed specifically requested the court order a view. And they want the exterior of the Lexus there. Ms. Reed further requested the vehicle be towed to the police roadway in front of 34 Fairview. We want it towed to the public roadway. Ms. Reed requests that this honorable court permit Ms. Reed to attend. She didn't get to attend the last one. The court may order a view by a jury impaneled to try a criminal case. It's definitely going to be in, but I'm just kind of shocked that they didn't say that we want this to be after the testimony. You know? As with the decision whether to hold a view, the decision to allow a defendant to be present is within the trial judge's discretion. So, allowing the impaneled jury to view the crime scene located at 34 Fairview will be particularly useful because the lawn appears to be much more expansive in photographs than it does in person. And that's 150% true. Been there, done it, true. So, I just think that it should be happening after these people testify. Defendant motion eliminated to prohibit testimony regarding funds paid to experts for purposes of a voir dire. This is the ARCA people. Karen Reed is asking. In this case, the Commonwealth should be precluded from eliciting testimony regarding any fees expended to have the experts testify at voir dire hearings, which were conducted at the Commonwealth's request. So, the argument is that expenses incurred by Ms. Reed as a result of expert voir dire are irrelevant. So, the fees and expenses related to expert voir dire are entirely irrelevant to expert credibility and do not make any fact of consequence more or less probable. Maybe they should go out before and after. Let's have the jury, let's just conduct the jury and this whole trial on the lawn of 34 Fairview so everybody can use their imaginations. Okay? Can you imagine that, Nancy Gray style? Pop up the top, pop it all up. Yes. Okay, so there's really not much to say about this. Next up, defendant Karen Reed's motion for attorney Conduct panel voir dire. So how we want to pick this jury. This one's interesting to me. So Ms. Reed requests that the defense counsel be permitted to conduct panel voir dire of the jury veneer on the following subjects: whether previous experience with the jury system or criminal legal system, characteristics of the case, including the media attention or personal characteristics or concerns of the prospective jurors, would impair their ability to be impartial, whether prospective jurors are biased in favor of law enforcement or have law enforcement related knowledge, whether prospective jurors hold strong personal beliefs about operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol. So they want to be able to personally ask these people. That means to me, it was more like this was, how were these questions asked? Did people, was it one-on-one? Okay. But they want to be able to physically ask these questions 1v1. How about domestic relationships, violence, whether prospective jurors or anyone close to them have been involved in a motor vehicle crash, whether prospective jurors have been the victim of any violent crimes. And so it's continuing on with, we want to be able to ask these type of questions 1v1. Where am I at right now? Okay, I wanted to stop right a little bit here because it's going into my 11 o'clock hour. And this is where we're going to stop. I will be back on with Karen Reed tomorrow, same time in the morning, where we will finish out the motions in lemony. And I get to, I think it's like 572. So, because I want to talk about the jury is important. I don't want to gloss over that. So, but join me right back at 7 o'clock here in 4 minutes, coming straight at you. Thank you so much for your support. And Karen, again, thank you. Thank you for turning 10 people green. And Jersey Bread, thank you so much. Peace out, Girl Scouts, mods, love it. Join me back 3 minutes. There's a Idaho 4 Brian Kober discussion going on at 11, and we got some new docs, new documents. Peace.